Okay, welcome back. Example 3, what we need to first notice about this is it has a negative in the front. We don't like negatives, so we need to actually factor out the negative. So we're going to take a -1 and factor out a -1 from everything. If possible, if these all had a GCF of something other than 1, we would factor that out as well. So for example, we have 14, 9, and 18. Those 3 don't have a common factor, but if it said a different number other than 14 and 9 and 18 had a common factor, we would divide all of that out. But right now we're just going to divide out a -1. When we do that, so if you need to do a -1 or just a negative symbol, and that is going to change all of the signs inside. So it turns into a positive 14k squared. Our positive 9k turns into minus 9k, and then minus 18 as well. So we are going to be factoring just what's on the inside. Now our last term is going to go in the bottom right hand, so -18. And our first term, that 14k squared, is going to go in the upper left corner. 14k squared. And then for our factors, we are going to multiply those together. So we have 14 times -18. This is going to give us big numbers. That's going to be -252. I'm definitely going to use my calculator for this one. And then we are going to add together to equal a -9. A -9. So be very careful here with that -9. We're going to have to add up to equal a -9. So I'm going to jump to my calculator real fast, and we're going to figure out what these factors are, and then we'll come back and plug them in. Okay, so we are trying to find factors that multiply together to be -252 and add together to be a -9. So I already have my calculator pulled up, and under y equals, I have typed in -252 divided by x. So again, negative button is the button next to the enter sign. It's like a negative with parentheses around it. And then the X button is next to that alpha key. So I'm going to hit second and graph to look at what my factors could be. Since this multiplies to be a negative number, that means one number is negative and one number is going to be positive. So we're always going to have one negative and one positive number. So looking through the list, we have several pairs of whole numbers. I have 3 and -84, 4 and -63, 7 and -36. Again, they need to add together to be a -9. So they can't be too far apart. For example, 6 and -42 adds together to be a -36. That's a little far apart. We want it to be a -9. So we need to keep scrolling through our list. You might need a second calculator handy to find numbers that are 9 apart from each other, -9 apart from each other. Here I have 14 and -8. If I add those together, I get -4, so I've gone too far. So if I look, my next whole number, 12 and -21, if I add those together, that does in fact equal -9. So 12 and -21 are our factors. Okay, so using the calculator, we were able to figure out that our factors are -21 and 12. And those add together to be a -9. So we're going to put a -21k and a +12k here. And then we are going to factor each row and column. So if I look at my first row, we are going to have, first column, that's a column, -21 and -18. There's only one k, so we're not going to factor out a k, but 21 and 18 both have 3 in common, so we're going to factor out a 3. And since they're both negative, I'm going to make it a -3. And then we are going to factor out 14k squared and 12k. They both have a k, so I know I'm going to be taking out a k. 14 and 12 have a 2 in common. And going for the rows, 14k squared and -21k. They both have a k. 14 and 21 are going to have 7 in common, so we're going to take out a 7. And then our last row, 12k and negative 18. 12 and 18 are going to have a 6 in common, so we are going to take out a 6. So then, and we want to bring that negative down to the front, so we're going to have a negative 1 or just a negative sign. And then our two binomials, we're going to have 2k minus 3 and 7k plus 6.